All righty, let's get started. So today's webinar, we're going to be talking about voice over IP phone systems and how we can help you increase the accessibility and lower your costs for your business. Now, today I have a special guest with me, Josh Morgenthau. He is one of my senior engineers and the brains behind a lot of our VoIP systems and everything. And of course, myself, Will Noble. So Josh, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate the opportunity and looking forward to chatting about how we can help our clients.
Great. And Josh, at least it'll get you away from the day-to-day troubleshooting for the clients for at least for an hour.
Much appreciated.
All righty. So let's talk about who is Vector Choice. So Vector Choice, our mission is to provide business critical IT services to organizations that heavily depend on information technology. See, we don't want just to do business with anybody that needs to plug in a computer. We want to do business with people that are thriving and they're using their technology to advance their business. Now, some of our core values of how we do that, we do the right thing. We take ownership in what we do all the way down from the ticketing system all the way up to your account management. We are versatile and agile. We're going to move around with you. We're going to grow, shrink. We're going to make changes ad hoc for you as quickly as we can. And we're going to be very respectful for doing that. That's one of the things I pride myself on, being a small country boy from Eastern North Carolina. I pride myself about being very respectful to my peers, to my employees, and also my customers. And we do what we say. We want to make sure that everything that we do for you, that we back it up and we're actually going to get it done for you. Now, I am pleased to announce that in 2021, it's been an amazing year so far. We've made the Inc. 5000. We made the MSP 501. The MSP 501 is where the top 501 managed service providers in the world, not in the United States, but in the world, that we made the top 501. We're also the best and brightest companies to work for in Atlanta and the greatest places to work. So I thank Josh and the rest of the team for helping Vector Choice get it to that point. Now let's talk about a little bit of what Vector Choice does before we really dive into the guts of the webinar here. I want to share everything that we do for you guys. We can do managed services, which is outsourced IT. We do the cybersecurity services for you. So if you just want us for cyber and not managing your IT, we can handle the cyber aspect. We can do cloud computing services where we have virtual servers or hosted servers in our data center or co-locate your physical servers for you. Phone hosting, obviously we do that because that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you're a larger company or you just need someone to be a CTO and overlook your existing IT staff, we can help you with that. We of course, we sell hardware and software, and we do dark web monitoring. A lot of people say, well, what is dark web monitoring? Dark web monitoring is actually where we go out in the dark web and we look for your credentials. A lot of times we'll find username and passwords that you're using today on the dark web. And what we do, we help you educate. Now, can we get you off the dark web? Absolutely not. But we can help educate you on how not to use that password anymore and alert you when that password does get compromised so we can get you to change your passwords. But it's amazing. I actually, a short little story, Josh, I'll tell you, is it was one time I was sitting down with a CPA firm. It was about 13 partners of a CPA firm that I went into, and I went into with our report with their passwords. And I handed a document to them, every one of them of their own passwords. Immediately, like, that's my MX password, that's my Delta password, that's my login to my computer. So that is kind of scary when someone that you don't even know can walk in and hand you your own passwords. So Josh, that was hilarious when that happened. And I sort of lost their attention a little bit because they're all trying to change their passwords real quick. So.
Yeah, it's a great data point, especially in trying to be proactive, right? That lets us see where those vulnerabilities are before they happen, as opposed to just responding to those. It's fantastic.
Yep, absolutely. So now I told you what we do. Let me tell you where we do it at. So we have 5 locations currently, from DC, the Northern Virginia area and DC market, Eastern North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, Mobile, Alabama, where Mr. Josh is sitting, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We have several surprises coming for you by the end of this year, but I'll tell you that story later. You got to stay tuned. But we also have done work in Costa Rica, the UK, Netherlands, the Dominican Republic, and we've probably done about 28 states so far. We've got active clients in about 17 states where we serve. We do a lot of compliancy. So if you need to meet types of compliancy like HIPAA, PCI, ITAR, SOX, GDPR, CMMC, which is huge right now in the government space, we can help you and guide you through making sure that you're compliant with all the compliance needs. Last thing, and just some announcements before we launched, or my marketing team launched our vectorchoice.com new website. Please go there, take a look at it, look around. You're going to love it. They did a great job in designing this, but I wanted to give a shout out to my marketing team for launching the new website. So Josh, let's get started and let's talk about voice over IP. But first, you know what? It's still a hot topic, COVID-19. We're so all tired of hearing about it, and I'll be glad when it's all over with. But you know what? The fact is, businesses got hit hard in 2020, and there's still some businesses are still trying to figure out how to fully function working from home. Now, granted, one of the things that Vector Choice, we've been doing it for 6.5 years working from home. And so if one company knows how to do it, we are definitely the company to help you, educate you how to monitor your employees, how to manage your employees, and also just how to function remotely, even with computer systems and as well as your phone system. Now, some of the statistics here, 53% of businesses struggled with communication when COVID started. You probably are saying, yep, that was me. I know a lot of our clients called us and said, Will, how do you guys do this? And we did so many webinars in March and April last year, educating people how to work from home. But one of the biggest things also is surprising 74%, and this is a Gartner survey. This is not Will Noble's survey, but a Gartner survey says 74% of businesses are considering staying working from home or having some kind of hybrid approach to for their employees to work. We've all found out that, hey, it can be done. We've been doing it for about 7 years now. I promise you, it can be done. It can be very efficient and effective for your company to do that. And the nice thing, you don't have to pay the big bucks when it comes to renting space, which I love. So, Josh, what do you think on the working from home aspect of with COVID and everything, and how phone systems can play an important part in that?
Yeah, I think COVID really fast tracked a lot of companies' interest in sort of building out a work from anywhere platform. I think for a lot of organizations, the idea of moving to a situation where their folks could work from anywhere, whether on the road traveling, if they are in an office, being able to work in that environment. And so I think for a lot of businesses, COVID just fast tracked that, created a need to really explore that with more urgency than we'd seen in the past. And so, yeah, fantastic being a part of Vector Choice, where that's been a model for us for years now. So it's been a lot of fun helping other businesses find that balance of doing so, but doing so securely and doing so in a way that doesn't decrease efficiency.
Absolutely. And it's crazy that another Gartner statistics that only 20% of businesses have moved to voice over IP, which I was shocked at that number. I thought that number would be a lot higher than it is. But there is a lot of phone systems out there that are still in play. And I might show my age, and Josh, I don't think you're as old as I am, but key systems, if you still have a key system out there, you're way behind times. A key system is one of the oldest phone systems that are out there, but there is still plenty of companies that are still working off, and they're good systems. But the thing is, moving to a more advanced phone system, it starts intertwining your unified communications. We're going to get what unified communications is in a second, but it's going to start tying that together for you, where in a key system, hey, you can answer the phone, you can leave a voicemail, but that's not much more after that you can do. The PBX, private branch exchange, and you'll hear a lot, you probably know some of these words, especially PBX or voice over IP, but we wanted to put the what that word actually means, because in IT world, we're always using abbreviations, and people ask, what does PBX stand for? And if you would probably ask that to me on the street, I'm like, I'm not for sure. I work on them all day, but we use everything in acronyms in the IT world. But private branch system, PBX, you get into the world of, you're able to start doing some voice over IP. A lot of people think because they're on a PBX system, they're in voice over IP, and that's probably because their connection is a SIP connection into the phone system, which gives them a little bit ability to be voice over IP, and then also because they plug into an Ethernet line in your office, that gives it more of an approach of a voice over IP. But what we're going to be talking about today is really a hosted voice over IP phone system. Voice over Internet Protocol is what VoIP stands for. And we're going to be talking about how a hosted phone system can benefit your business to be more agile and more mobile as well. Josh, any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So the VoIP is, like you said, it's sort of an umbrella term that just means that we're able to deliver dial tone over the internet, right? As opposed to maybe if you have an on-premise phone server now, you're used to having a PRI connection or a physical connection into a phone server somewhere. So voice over IP is sort of the umbrella, and then PBXs and SIP are just technologies that we use to deliver that service. But they all fall under that umbrella of voice over IP.
Yep, and as you see, the tech world, we're going to use PRIs, we're going to use SIPs, or we're going to use other acronyms. PRI is just the connection from your phone system, from your phone provider into the phone system. A traditional PRI is what it's called, will provide 23 in and outbound phone calls at any given time. So just to give you an idea, you can have fractional PRIs, or it's just like at your home, a POTS line, plain old telephone line, where you plug into one phone and you can have one phone call going on. That's a plain old telephone line. So again, a whole bunch of acronyms in the IT world, but I wanted to at least educate you as we continue going through this. Now, the biggest reason why Vector Choice and we encourage our clients to move to a voice over IP phone system is the unified communication portion. We still hear a lot of people say, hey, I just want to be able to pick up the phone, take a call from my client, and have good reception, and it works, right? Now, you can still use a voice over IP phone system for that. That's not a problem. But the thing is, when you start being more mobile, you've got a younger workforce that are more agile and are constantly communicating via phones, chat. They rather, a lot of times, and to actually chat or text or email than to actually pick up the phone. I know how many times I never pick up my cell phone personally, and I'm just responding back to text. I rather text someone back and forth than actually pick up the phone and actually talk to them, especially my mother. Don't tell her that. This is not live by no means. Josh, how about you? How do you function personally? And then we'll talk more on the business side of why you use unified communications.
Yeah, I love being able to just fire off a text or an email. So in my personal life, working with companies that I can get support from, whether it's through a Facebook chat or something online. Obviously, in the professional world, we're constantly juggling things, and so my personal life, being able to fire off lots of texts and messages is definitely the way to go. I actually listened to a speaker one time that talked about that being sort of a generational challenge between different ages, right? That a certain age of folks really prefer to pick up the phone and have that voice connection, and different generations have different priorities there, which is really interesting that this covers all of those.
That's true, and that's where the unified communication comes in. You still have your phone, but with unified communication, you're able to tie your phone system, email, chat, video, voice, presence. You can use a cell phone on your computer. You can use an app on your mobile phone. So there's all the ways to tie it in. And I'm sure if we have any employees on here, they're thinking, I'm never going to get away from work if I do that. That is the whole idea of unified communication. We don't want you as an employer, we don't want you to ever get away from work. But no, really, we do, but it makes it a lot easier. So the fact that you have different ages maybe in your company, and you've got some ages that just want to pick up the phone and want it to work, but you've got others that want to tie in their systems together. Prime example, if someone calls you and a client calls you, you can tie into a CRM system where you can have screen pops that pop up and tell you who's calling you, and actually have a ticket or have their CRM, their notes of that particular client calling you up in front of you. So there's a lot of tying things together is what benefits your customer, which ultimately makes you look better as a vendor for your customer. So let's talk a little bit, Josh, a little bit about what is voice over IP. Voice over IP is voice over the internet. That's the simplest way to explain it, voice over the internet. Where traditional phones, like I was talking about, a POTS line, plain old telephone line when you're at home, the days of plugging a phone in and you have the phone hanging up on the wall. I remember, I'm so old that we only had a phone hanging up on the wall that had the wire connected to it, and it was a dialer phone. And it was so funny. I was actually, me and my daughter went to the Empire State Building, and going through there, they have these little rooms, and they had a phone that was a dialer phone. And I told her to sit down, told Maddie, I said, sit down and look at this. I said, what do you think this is? She was like, well, it looks like a phone, but I don't know how. I was like, well, dial my phone number. She had no clue how to use the rotary thing, which was bizarre to me, but I guess the age gap, right? Voice over IP can also be a cloud-based technology for you, where the guts of your phone system, the brain of your phone system is in the cloud. Now, we talk about the cloud, but the cloud is just in someone else's data center. That's all it is. It's not fictional cloud. It actually is somewhere, physically somewhere, but it's in the cloud to you, just like Google. You Google right now, Facebook, you think it's in the cloud. Well, it is in the cloud to you, but it's actually in a big giant data center somewhere. The things with voice that gives you robust growth and call recording. I mean, for example, if someone calls our support desk and we want to listen to a call that happened, we can immediately jump into and listen to that call recording, know where the path of that call went, who they talked to, and everything. We can produce that recording to you as well, and you can do that for your clients. Voicemail to email, which I love. I don't think I've checked a voicemail on a phone in probably 8 years, probably, maybe longer. But so all my voicemails goes to my email. I check my voicemails there. Yeah, I can play it on my iPhone. I can play it on my laptop with speakers. And then I have it auto deleted from my voicemail from the phone system because I don't need it there. And so, Josh, when's the last time you actually logged into your voicemail? Besides setting up your voicemail, when's the last time you actually logged into your voicemail to check a voicemail?
Gosh, yeah, I can't imagine. I couldn't give you a date yet. Again, it goes back to that work from anywhere, work on the fly, be effective from anywhere work finds you.
Yep, that is very true, very true. And then the next thing, remember that it is using the internet. So if your internet goes down, voice can go down, but we're going to be talking about today how we can help and make sure that doesn't happen, and how voice over IP phone systems has redundancy built in where you can do different types of things in the cloud. Because the thing is, if your phone system in your office, if you have an on-premise phone system, a key system or a PBX, and that crashes, or your phone line goes down, your PRI goes down into your office that's feeding the actual calls, you're dead in the water. The nice thing with a hosted phone system, you're not dead in the water, and we're going to show you how. So here, going back, there's hardware-based voice over IP, which is the PBX portion that ties in. You can have your phones that are over Ethernet that goes to your switch in your office. It doesn't go through the older jacks. It's called RJ11, RJ45 jacks. Again, another IT terminology, but it's the smaller little ports that if you've got a small little adapter that your laptop cable can plug into, that's a RJ11, and that's a traditional phone system. A lot of people would have that still in their homes or fax machines. Now, if you have the bigger jacks, that actually is going to be a RJ45, which is going to connect to your network, which is your phones can do that. So that's where you have a hardware-based phone system. And then a software-based phone system is where it's all the brains of the phone system is in the cloud. You don't have a server room that a phone system's sitting in. So Josh, am I covering that correctly from
Yeah, yeah, spot on, spot on. So the hardware based, we're typically going to see with having a phone server in your office or maybe in a co-location facility, but we're dealing with hardware, right? Spinning fans. We're talking about the risks that come with anything that moves, anything that can break down.
Yeah, and Josh, we had our first chat, and that just reminded me that if you have any questions, please put it in the chat or the Q&A, and me and Josh will get to that. But I had one of the panelists that knows me very well says, you don't even check your cell phone voicemail. And that is probably very true as well. I check it when it tells me it's full. I'd rather just answer the phone. Okay, so why cloud-enabled communication? Again, I think we've covered a lot of that, but by just making it simple for your customers to get up with you, make it where you can be mobile, make it no matter what kind of disasters happen. If it's a hurricane for our clients on the East Coast in North Carolina and up in Virginia and DC area, or a hurricane, I guess, in Baton Rouge and Mobile as well, because I guess you guys lately get hit more hurricanes than anybody else.
Yeah, that's just part of the challenge, and we keep talking about that work anywhere part, right? As an engineer, the thing that I see a lot is companies that are still using sort of the traditional, right? We have an office network, right? We have all of our equipment there, everything is centralized there, and so by going cloud enabled, you're really breaking out of that and really planning for the future as well.
Agree. And so again, the biggest thing is to cloud enable your environment. You're doing that with your technology. You're doing that with your email. You're doing that with your servers. You're doing that with applications or CRM or your major applications. Why not do it with your phone system as well and be more efficient with your time, as well as be more responsive for your customers? So we're not here to tell you VoIP is perfect, okay? And we're going to share the calls. I'm looking at problem one, call quality. We're going to share with you the biggest problems with voice, but I also want to share with you how Vector Choice overcomes those types of problems. So the problem number one, call quality. You've probably heard over and over, I've had a voice over IP phone system and it was terrible. Now, the biggest thing that we see is if an IT company that does not understand networking puts a phone system in, or your phone provider like AT&T or Comcast or Cox puts it in, they don't understand what's called LAN networking. And that's the networking that sits behind their equipment that it belongs to you. And that's where we come in and we can really look at things and do an assessment to see if your environment is ready for voice, and also have the tools to troubleshoot voice type of issues. Now, one of the biggest things, insufficient bandwidth. Now, that's one of the huge things that it could be. Like if you're sitting at home and you have a dial-up, and I know that I'm really showing my age now, if you have dial-up internet or a DSL or low-end speed, or you're way out in the country that you don't have the ability to get a lot of speed when it comes to your internet, then that could be a problem. But with the speeds today that even at home that they give you, that is completely fine. Now, what we do what's called QoS. Again, another IT term, but quality of service. And we can make tweaks and changes to your firewalls to do quality of service for your calls. And what that does, it gives your phone voice traffic higher priority over your data traffic. So meaning if you're trying to stream YouTube or stream a movie and you get a phone call come in, the phone call is going to have a higher priority in the traffic than the streaming Netflix show that you're watching. So, Josh, you want to talk about problem number two?
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about how traditional phone systems again fall into that. Having a piece of equipment in your office or having that service delivered to your office, and of course the challenge there is that all of the mechanisms that deliver internet to you have to be working properly. And unfortunately, internet goes down. People don't call before they dig, and someone backhoes up a fiber line, and internet does go down. The great thing is with a VoIP system, with a cloud hosted system, we have ways of responding to that. We can have calls go to different destinations. Maybe that's routing a call to a different office. Maybe that's routing calls to your key employees, your key staff cell phone numbers in a critical outage like that. But again, because we are talking about a service that's reliant on the internet, having good reliable internet is a huge factor in succeeding in doing that.
Yep. And we do a lot of things for you where we will recommend a backup internet service if that is a satellite or just a Verizon Air card that goes into the firewall, or a actual true backup if you have fiber and maybe we put a coaxial internet in as a backup for you. So that's not just going to help you from the phone system standpoint, but also it's going to keep your employees functional, because as more and more you are taking things to the cloud, the more reliant you're going to be on the internet being up. And as we all know, no internet company is perfect, and they all go down. So it's having that redundancy for you there. But the nice thing is with a hosted phone system, if you have a disaster, let's say that you're in Mobile or you're in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and a hurricane comes in and destroys your office. God, I hope that never happens to any of you guys, but it can, right? I actually had a partner when the tornadoes came through Kansas. The whole town was destroyed. And because they had everything in the cloud, they were able to stay up and completely function and running. And that's sort of the disaster recovery. So doing a hosted phone system is sort of giving a little bit of disaster recovery as well, because you can go anywhere and start taking those calls. You can route those calls to your cell phone easily. You got your mobile app for your phone system on your cell phone, so you don't have to skip a beat when you're doing that. We can also add auto attendants to moving things around. We can make those changes go live. We've had a lot of cases where hurricanes have came through North Carolina, and we've actually had to shut down their whole office because it's in an area of flooding. We shut down all of the servers and everything. But the nice thing, they were able to go home and still take calls from their customers because their phone system was in the cloud. So there's a lot of positives. It's just got to be done by the right person. And that's why we're saying an IT company that understands IT and voice is who you want to go with. And we're going to talk about the reasons and a little bit reasons why not to go with like AT&T or a Comcast. Not saying anything about them for phone hosting. They're good at some things, they're bad at others. All right. So the uncensored facts, what a phone salesperson won't tell you. And this is a lot of times when you, and I hear this a lot with like Comcast or Cox, or AT&T comes in. It's all about the basics, features, and capability, okay? But what they show you is the dog and pony show. But they only sell you the pony. You don't get the whole big picture. So you have to be very careful about when you're looking at the features that they're selling you of what you're going to actually use, and is that included within the package that they actually showed you. That you have to write down the most important features that you want out of a phone system, and we have a questionnaire that we go through with you and find out what are your goals, not today, but in 2, 3, 5 years for your phone system, to make sure that you have all the features that you're going to need. So what have you seen, Josh, out there with salespeople selling phone systems, and they only know the phone system world? What's the mistakes that buyers do get themselves into?
Yeah, often it's in sort of the those critical things that maybe don't get thought of when you think about core phone services. It's things like faxing, it seems like having great reporting is one that I see come up a lot, right? Do we have the data to know when calls are coming in, where they're landing? Do we have staff that are missing calls? So things like business intelligence data is incredibly important. The other one, like you said, is who's going to be managing this, right? Is the phone system a standalone, or is someone going to be helping us out building maybe a system that we already have? Call flows. So those are all really important questions.
Yep, absolutely. So we're going to talk about the two critical questions to ask any vendor before you buy. One, who is going to be setting up the new phone system and customize it for your specific needs and situation? I want to read all of that out because that is huge. When you buy from Vector Choice, you're going to have a Vector Choice employee setting up the phone system and deploying the phones, working with you from a project management standpoint. We even do the recordings. My lovely wife, Logan, does a lot of the voice recordings for our clients. So pretty much you call a lot of our clients, it's going to be her voice on there. We even go that far. Now, when you buy from other vendors, as of bigger vendors, that's going to be the quick, easy sell. They tie it into their internet. You're going to have a different department that sells that. Sometimes I've got a client that ran into this about 5 years ago. AT&T sold them a phone system. They had a third-party vendor install it, and it took 8 months to actually get the install working. And just this past month, they're ripping that phone system out because they're just had it with how it worked and everything. So it can be very finicky when you buy from a larger company and they outsource it to someone else, because you start losing control of who do I contact? When I have a problem, because a lot of times they contact IT and we have to say, we don't support that phone system. You'll have to, and then AT&T passes you off to third party. So just be very careful with that. So definitely ask who's going to be doing that. How do you get, and remember, a salesperson will tell you anything. So get them to put it in writing as well, who's actually going to be doing that. How do I get help if the phone system isn't working? Now, the biggest thing there is, do you want to call a company like Vector Choice where our techs are answering the phone live and you're getting it when you call in and you're not having to leave voicemails? Or are you going to call AT&T or Comcast or some of the big guys where you're going to sit in the call queue, sometimes 30, 45, 60 minutes, because believe me, we have to do this for our clients, and waiting for someone to pick up. And then the person that picks up is not knowledgeable of your phone system, and then they have to fumble around and figure that out because they have thousands of phone systems out there. That's the key of working with your IT company on those types of things. So Josh, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, number one there reminds me a lot of how some of the larger vendors, they sort of deliver the Amazon experience, right? They're going to give you that service in a box at your front door, and then you're going to have to figure out how to build that out, how to get the phones deployed, right? As opposed to, what we do, which is going in, planning beforehand, that network assessment we talked about being so critical, and delivering a finished product as opposed to, a box full of parts at your front door.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So on this one, key points for working with a vendor that's an IT firm. The reason for that is, one, your IT company, regardless if it's Vector Choice or whoever, your IT company knows your internal network. They know if you've got cables ran to all your offices properly. Is the cables able to support voice over IP? Is your switching environment and your firewalls and your infrastructure that you currently have able to support that? Because a lot of times you'll get a surprise. You'll sign a contract, you'll get the phone system, the project manager comes in and for them and says, oh, well, you don't have a switch that can support that, you don't have this, you got to run these cables. So you get surprised with the cost of things that you have to do. What we're doing is we do the assessment ahead of time, and we're going to tell you what you need to do with the phone system, what you need to do with what features you want to work with and that you need, and also your infrastructure of your IT world that you live in your office. We're going to help you assess that and make sure you're making the right decision, regardless of what phone system you go to. How many phone vendors many phone vendors will not properly do an assessment. A lot of times they're going to give you a quote because they know what they do. They do internet and they will do phone hosting. but they do phone hosting because it's in the cloud and it's part of their cloud, but they don't understand the inner workings of your IT environment. And a lot of times it makes it very hard for the IT company to work with them, because the IT company gets surprised and don't know there's a new phone system going in. So they come in and plug things in, and things go wrong. So having, regardless of what you do, make sure your IT company is definitely involved no matter what decision you make. Obviously lead into massive expenses. If you have to replace your switch, you have to do new cabling. If you have to buy a new firewall, these are expenses that you're going to get caught off guard. But if you're using your IT firm, at least they're going to be able to do that assessment and tell you, okay, here's the things that you need to replace. So it'll give you an idea of what your time cost is and what your recurring cost is going to be as well. Josh, how many times do you see things go awry when ISP, internet service provider, sells a phone system to a customer?
Oh, all the time. And again, it goes back to your point about, they know the internet, they can get that service to your front door, again, tying back to that Amazon package. But what happens after that, and whether that's that box is gonna fit in your kitchen the way you imagined it or not, that's the big differentiator, and what we do, and tying that all together and making sure all the pieces are there and working properly, so you have a smooth deployment.
Yep. So we're going to talk about, we have 2 slides of 20 things, and we're not going to cover every single one, but I wanted to point some out that is going to be key for you. And number 4, I'm going to jump to number 4. What is the startup fee and recurring cost? Because the recurring cost, every vendor is going to be pretty clear about the recurring costs. Sometimes they'll leave the tax and taxes and fees out that they don't include. So you definitely want to ask if this includes taxes and fees in their package. But the startup costs can vary, right? You might have a sweet deal where a ISP comes in and says, well, if you get internet from us, we won't charge you for a setup fee. But then your setup goes all crazy, goes awry, and then you're in a mess. They didn't port all your phone numbers over. They forgot your 1-800 number because they didn't do the complete assessment. They didn't know that you need cabling to all your offices because you use all wireless. So there's a lot of things that to be able to look out for. One of the things we do is we do offer a type of money back guarantee. And if no other vendor is going to do that, we're going to give you your money back. If you're not happy with that service, we're going to give you money back and to make sure that we are honoring what we've sold you. The questions we get asked: can I keep my current phone numbers? Absolutely. You can keep your 1-800 numbers, your local 10-digit numbers. You can keep all of those. Anybody that tells you any different, just come to us. We'll take that. But so you definitely want to be able to keep your numbers. There is cost to porting numbers over. A lot of times people will include that on their setup fee, but porting, it's called porting the number to one carrier to another. Make sure your quotes include taxes or any ongoing fees. And then the features that they showed you in the demo, is it the same features that you're going to be getting when you pay for it? Because you don't want to get caught off guard to say, well, I saw this in the demo. Oh, well, that's not included. That's extra cost. So you definitely want to get that in writing, what features are included. And then, of course, does your phone system include local and long distance calling included, or does it include international calling? So those types of things that you need to find out there. Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. And so, as we mentioned, right, these are great questions to make sure that you're getting not just the dog, but the pony as well, right? So we talked about that network assessment, right? So do I have the equipment necessary to deliver a great voice over IP experience to my business? Is number 11 there. We kind of briefly mentioned faxing earlier, right? That's one that often gets overlooked. We think about the phones, we think about what's going to happen when we swap out our handsets, but does this VoIP service support an eFax, right? And another great benefit there is that typically that's going to be faxes now come to emails, right? Instead of coming into a traditional fax machine. So all of the network security, all of the email security that you've built out are now protecting your faxes as well, which is awesome. A trial phone we can test in our office before making a commitment. This again goes back to making sure that you have all the pieces in place beforehand. So we hope that in our network assessment, or if you have an existing IT provider, whoever's doing that, we hope that we see those things in network assessment. But ultimately, we've got to see when the rubber meets the road. Is this phone system going to deliver for us? 14, I think, is really important. And we talked about COVID at the beginning of the call. If my employee needs to work from home, can the phone system accommodate that? Is it flexible? Is it going to respond to whatever the next big business challenges after COVID? Right? Can we be flexible? Can our folks work from different locations? Can we support work from anywhere? Talking about the transition, right? As we move from whatever existing phone service you have to a VoIP, to a cloud-based system, what kind of downtime can you expect? What does that cutover look like? Is that a busy weekend for the IT staff? Is that a long lunch break for someone? Figuring out what that impact is to your business and when that can happen, again, goes to a great deployment. Training is huge. Number 16, what type of training do you offer for my employees using the phone? We'll show you in a few minutes some of the features that our hosted solution offers, but making sure that we have great quick reference cards for our users, right? Some of your folks are probably going to be willing to sit down and go through a training video. Some are going to want here's the 1,000-foot view and hit the ground running. And so having a great system in place already that can meet both of those needs is incredibly important. 17, show me how to change office hours, how calls are routed. Again, we want to build that for you initially. That's a part of, again, getting that Amazon package in and taking it apart and us actually building it out for you. But we also want to show you how to do that. Sometimes it's quicker to have either yourself or a staff member that can make those changes on the fly for you. Let's see what else. Do I have to record my own voicemail and auto attendant messages? This is another one of those things that often gets overlooked. With a big provider like an AT&T or Comcast delivering a phone system, again, you're going to get sort of what they give you. And if you want to go beyond that, if you want to customize it, you have to source that talent, build a new business relationship with a different vendor. We're able to provide all of those things, which I think is fantastic. And finally, does your system handle emergency 911 calls? E911, again, another one of those sort of IT buzzwords, but has a lot to do with being able to make calls and 911 operators seeing what address that phone number is affiliated with, being able to get someone help quickly. So again, another one of those things that doesn't get thought about until there's a problem, and we want to handle that ahead of time for you.
Yes, in the 911, we can set the different addresses, even your home address for individual users and stuff in there as well. The most important features that we get asked all the time, voicemail to email, text communication to my clients, and call routing when the internet goes down. Yes, your phone system, if you're buying a new phone system today, you should be able to, at least of those three things, should be things that you should be able to do. Now, real quick, for about 10 minutes here, we're going to show you our phone system, and this is going to be the admin side of things. You're going to see how easy it is to use. Now, even if you buy a phone system, a hosted phone system from us, you put a ticket in, we can make all the changes, but we want to share with you how easy it is for you to make your own changes if you prefer. So Josh, I'm going to turn the screen over to you and let you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Share my screen here. There we go. Oh, let's see. There we are. All right, perfect. So you guys see in the admin control for one of our clients here, just kind of show you.
Yes,
What's that?
yeah, I see it.
Oh, good, perfect. All right. So as Will mentioned, having an interface that's intuitive, being able to jump in and make day-to-day changes is incredibly important. Lots of menu options here. I'll show you just a couple that we use to customize how calls are delivered and to make sure that they're highly available for you. We have, obviously, everything starts with the user. I'm just going to pick an example one here. You're going to see lots of options, right? So we talked earlier about how, whenever COVID became a problem, became a business challenge, having the flexibility to meet those needs that maybe were very different than the challenges that your business faced before. So we can control what a user has access to, right? Maybe you have a business development center that needs very limited rights and the ability to call out. You want a particular caller ID to show up. For those users, right, we can control that here. We can control which what phone number shows up, so that when someone returns that call, it's routed either to that individual or maybe to like I said, a business development center or a support department, right? We can control all of that at the user level here. Again, lots of controls for account access. Maybe you have managers that you want to be able to control certain aspects of your phone system, right? So we have the ability to sort of delegate and elevate those people and give them access to the tools that they need, which again, that's one less support call for you to make, and allowing your people to have access to the tools they need to make the changes they need day to day. Our phone system uses a unified communications app called Boomia, and so that's again where you can chat through it, you can do video calls, and we can just sort of control what access is available through that app. Again, restrictions we can set here. So whenever someone calls, right, before a call lands at this user, this Nick user we're looking at, there are things we have to think about, right? What time of day is this coming in? How does the phone system handle that? But it all starts with the phone numbers. Let's start there. Right. So we have what's probably a main number here coming into a schedule, which our phone system calls it time of day routing. And that is on a schedule called business hours, right? Super simple. This is a pretty standard setup. Between 8 and 5, Monday through Friday, that call is going to go to one place. On Saturdays and Sundays, that call is going to go to AA means auto attendant, right? So that's your IVR. That's the automated, the recording that we can help you build to give those people, a menu that says, hey, you're reaching us after business hours. It could be press 1 to get to our emergency support line. It could be just we're not available depending on your business and what your expectations are there. But we can control all of that through this time of day routing, right? So eventually we see that during business hours, we want that to go to a group, right? And this is where you're going to be able to build out your frontline answering. Again, maybe that's a business development center. Maybe that's a receptionist. Super simple to change these. We can, I'm not going to make the change here, but it's just a matter of clicking and dragging a couple of users over to that group. Again, for day-to-day use, if you have someone on your staff that you want to handle this, super simple, but as always, we're happy to handle the changes for you as well. So that's a call group. That's sort of the basics there. We talked about eFax a little bit. So we do have fax boxes that we can set up, which again, turn traditional fax numbers. You still get a phone number to hand out just like you're used to. As Will mentioned, we can port over numbers, the existing fax numbers that you have, so we can continue to use those, but they become an email, right? Basically an email service, so that you're receiving those in whatever email provider you're using today, right? So we see we can control who has access to send through that. Again, very flexible. The goal being, that we can respond to as many different business needs and challenges as you have. So we have all these knobs and gauges and settings that we can build out custom to what it is that you're trying to accomplish with your phone system. Will again mentioned, that we do have, and one of those important questions to ask was talking about who's going to help me build out voice recordings, who's going to help me build out, hold music and things like that. This is all controllable through the cloud console, which is accessible anywhere. So again, if your office closes, you're not having to have someone go on site to make these changes and to connect to an on-premise phone system. So lots of benefits here. Well, what else? What do you think would be interesting to show here?
One really I love is the blacklist. Just like spam, if you get tired of someone calling you, and we do not do this for our customers, but if you get tired of someone calling you, we can actually send it to a blacklist. So if it's a spam caller, if it's we've heard it all. I've heard people threaten. We've heard recordings of we've had to get FBI involved. So there's a lot of things, but the nice thing about it is you can just drop them into the blacklist, just like you do with a spam for email. The call recording feature is great. You can set up call recording for everybody in the company, particular numbers. extensions. So there's a lot of functionality there. You know, it just makes it easy to use the interface itself. You know, we like Josh said, and I've said before, we do it for you. But if you want someone to control this or make quick changes yourself, you can do that. Josh, you know what? Go to the auto attendant menu again. The menus.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see where. Yep.
Yep, and it is so easy just to move and build an auto attendant out. When you're trying to think of building an auto attendant out, it's kind of complex, but you never want a call to get to a dead end. You want them to get somewhere, and to make sure you're building an auto attendant out. So if you have a call group that rings sales, and if sales doesn't answer, what do you want it to do? And if that group doesn't answer, or if it's after hours, do I want to go to a generic voicemail or to someone's voicemail? You got to think about all this process, and that's where we help you. And we lay out a whole big map out for your auto attendant and all the steps throughout.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I do want to point out here, one of the requests that we get from time to time that's often an afterthought is, you know, hey, can we do a company directory? Is that something that someone else is going to have to maintain and keep updated? With our hosted system, one of the things I love is that as you make changes to the users, that's reflected in the company directory. It's not extra work for someone else to have to manage.
Well, Josh, I appreciate that. Let's head back over to. I hope that was helpful for everybody. I don't see any questions. I did see one question saying that billing and invoices can also be a mess with large internet providers, and that is very, very true. Trying to get anybody from billing from a large internet provider and to answer any questions is a very tough task, especially if you have a lot of phones out there. One of the things, and we're wrapping up this today, and I want to, again, thank you so much for being on, or if you watch this webinar later, I wanted to thank you for watching it, but we want to provide you a free phone assessment today. So I'm going to have my team reach out to you and see if you're interested in that free phone assessment, no charge at all, but we want to see where you're at and see if going to voice over IP is a good idea or not for yourself. And then but even better, I want to add this. If you sign a contract, a phone hosting contract with us by August 31st, I'm going to give you a free 1 month service of our voice over IP service. So your first month will be free. We want to extend that to you and for being on today. I want to thank you so much for joining. If you want to reach out to us for anything, the phone number is here to reach out. My email address is below as well. Feel free to reach out, ask any questions. If you would like to call and ask my account management team or even a tech team any questions, we're here to help. So at this point, I'm going to see if there's any more questions, Josh. Let's see here. And if you have any questions, please put it in the chat. But let me just review a few things real fast. See if there's any questions. There is a question here, Josh, and I probably have to answer this, but if someone chooses us for phone hosting, do they contact support the same way? And the additional of that is how is the billing handled? Okay, so yes, so if you go to our phone hosting, you would contact our support desk the same way you do today if you're a current client. You know, as if you're not a current client, we have a phone number, local number, 1-800 number. You can text us, you can email us, and we also have a client portal that you can go to submit a ticket. So we can take the VoIP tickets the same way, and we can help you in the same fashion there. Just like we're picking up the phone live for tech support issues, we're going to be doing the same thing for your voice. And then the billing side of things, yes, we bill you the same way. We will bill you a separate invoice for VoIP because it does have taxes and fees that are charged by the lovely state and federal government that I cannot get away from. And that's another thing. If you go to a phone provider that's not charging you that, be very wary because they have to charge you that by law. And that is something that, believe me, I would rather not have to charge you, but by law, that is required for a phone hosting vendor to charge you that. So that was the only question I had there. I want to thank you so much, Josh. I want to thank you so much for being on and taking your time out of your busy day to be on with me. I want to thank our attendees for being on, and also in Facebook for being on today and listening. Hope you learned something about moving to voice over IP, and I hope that triggers your thoughts of actually do that. So, Josh, again, thank you, and I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the week.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it, Will.